Hello guys. So this isn't necessarily going to be a thrilling or, well, happy video. And to be honest, I considered not uploading it at all, to be honest. But it carries a bit of a message that since day one, since starting SG Animals, there's a few animals that I want to touch on, which I guess I want to spread a bit more awareness to and get rid of some of the misinformed information and misinformed hatred, I suppose. Because I was at work the other day and one of Britain's most hated animals stumbled across my path, and we spot him all the time at work, to be honest, so I thought I'd film him, and he'll probably, like always, they'll just run off. Typically they'll see me, or they'll see me with my machinery, and yeah, they'll just leg it. But then I noticed I was able to get far too close to him, and he wasn't really reacting to me or the, loud machinery I had trailing behind me, which obviously is never a good sign. And after observing him for a minute, I realised he's walking with a bit of a wobble and he's breathing quite heavily, so something clearly isn't right with him. So, a bit of backstory. I work for quite a big company. I'm obviously not going to name them. I haven't showed any branding or any sort of labelling or anything. I do work in a garden centre, that's the only thing I'm going to say, and the company I work at pays another company to come in and lay down poison. Now, for those of you that aren't in the UK, it is quite a common thing around here. Pretty much every company I've worked for does it. They lay some sort of poison or trap or something like that, which obviously I don't agree with for a lot of reasons. I've dealt with rat problems before. They were at a house that I was once in before, and all I did is I disturbed their burrow, I took away the food sources, I took away the point of entries. So basically the area they were living, they decided there's no food here, it's being disturbed, our point of entry has been cut off, let's leave. I feel like it's as simple as that. And the thing is, there's a lot of points of entries at work. We sell bird food, so there's food there which they ransack all the time. And we pay a company to lay down poison instead of filling in all the holes that the company knows are there, all the holes in the pipes, all the holes in the wall. We just leave them. So we're pretty much inviting them in to a free buffet and then saying, hey, here's some poison, because I don't know, to me it just doesn't make sense. I do know there's obviously regulations when it comes to retail, but to me it feels like you could massively reduce the issue if you just dealt with these primary issues in the first place. Anyway, so I came to the conclusion, judging by the amount of poison we lay, that we do find dead rats occasionally, that this guy's probably come across one of the traps and consumed some of the poison. He does look like he's only a few months old. He's definitely not an adult. The adults we see at work are about twice his size. And given the company involved with laying the poison, I think the poison used is bromadlione, if I'm saying that right. I have no idea. Essentially what it does is it blocks vitamin K absorption in the body and the use of it in the body. So what this does is vitamin K is used to help clot blood. Without the vitamin K, the animal essentially bleeds internally until it dies. It bleeds internally to death. I did some more research on the topic because I thought, we're Britain, we have good animal welfare standards, we're one of the leading in the world for it. There are still a lot of areas we need to improve on, but as far as it comes, compared to a lot of other countries, we are really good as far as our welfare comes. So I figured he's probably maybe going to go off in a couple hours or so, which realistically is still too long. That's too much suffering for what I like to think our standards are. So I did more research. It can take up to 7 days. I'm sorry, I don't know if this is just me, but that's pathetic. That's ridiculous. We consider ourselves one of the leading countries and we pride ourselves in our animal welfare. Yet there's this animal that has a really bad rap because it gets blamed for the Black Death. People think it carries all sorts of diseases, which quite frankly it doesn't. And yes, there are a couple zoonotic diseases it can pass over, but you're only really going to possibly get those if you handle the animal, if you ingest its urine, if the animal bites you. Being within the vicinity of the animal, the chances of you getting anything are so slim. And even more so because the animal's going to run away. Rats aren't typically going to hang around and say, hey, there's a human, I'm a wild rat, this is going to be a great combination. They run away, they're not interested in fighting, so unless you're going around licking rats, you're probably going to be fine. So I'm going to go more into that in the future, because that is part of what my future plan is. I do want to raise some awareness on that, because there's a lot of misinformation about them and the issues they can and do cause. But yeah, 7 days is too long. That's such a long time to be suffering for that degree. It's not necessarily going to take that long. Sometimes it's shorter, but still, if it's longer than 24 hours, that's a lot of suffering. The way I see it, we've all had stomach bugs. We've all had those nasty illnesses where you feel like you're being torn up inside. It feels like there's daggers in you. You feel horrendous. Can you imagine, can you comprehend the thought of bleeding internally for 7 days? It's ridiculous. And I think part of my biggest issue with that is the resources, the money, the education and the knowledge we have. There is no reason we haven't come up with a better alternative. There is absolutely no excuse for that in my mind. So obviously I made the decision that I couldn't leave him just sitting there suffering, and well, potentially for a few more days he could have been sat there and I'd just be walking by working knowing that he's under one of those pallets, or maybe the other side of the fence. So I called up a few vets until I found one that would accept him, and well, on my lunch break jumped in a taxi. This is where the next part of the issue came. So I took him there. I spoke to the receptionist. She was very welcoming. She said she checked with the other staff and they said yeah, they'll accept it, they'll see him. And they fully knew he was wild as well. They knew he was not a pet rat, so they knew the circumstances fully. And I thought, what I said to them is, if there's anything we can do for him, I'll be happy to help, whether that's rehabbing, whether there's going to be payment for treatment, that's fine, I'll help. If he needs to go to a wildlife, if he can be treated and then go to a sanctuary to be rehabbed, because I know there's one nearby that accepts pigeons, so I feel like there's a chance they'll accept rats. But chances are, given the circumstances and given what he is, there's a high chance he's just going to be euthanized, which at the end of the day is still less suffering. He's going to go out in a much nicer way than having to wait days and days and days. So 20 minutes later we got there, and suddenly the receptionist wasn't really so welcoming, which was really strange, because on the phone she was more than happy to help, and it was the same lady. She called out the vet. I went and sat down as they asked me to. And then in the background, what I hear, because I'm not sure if the vet thought speaking full volume is going to travel across the room, but it did. She wasn't happy. She was not happy that I'd brought in a wild rat to be euthanized. And I don't know, for a second it sounded like she was just going to point blank refuse. I am sorry that this has turned into quite a rant, but as I say, I feel like it's something that needs to be said. But in my mind, why are you a vet if you don't care about all animals? Why have you dedicated so many years, resources, time, and essentially your life to a career that you know is going to revolve around animals, and then you accept to see a wild animal knowing what it is, and then you're not happy when I actually arrive? Long story short, they did end up euthanizing him. They did sort him out humanely. I just don't really understand it, because if I'd brought in a fox or a badger or a squirrel, you can guarantee they would have jumped at the chance to help him have the story and take him off to a rehabber. I don't get why a rat is any different. He's still an animal that was suffering a very, very nasty death. Maybe it's just me. I know I've done work experience at vets before. I know that there's some really good ones. There's some that are just horrendous at their jobs. Because, well, one of the ones that I did work experience at before, there was one that was just really lazy. She didn't file a piece of paperwork and someone's pet ended up dying because of it, because they didn't get the medicine in time. But then there's been others that go above and beyond, some that are absolutely amazing. So I know it's not all of them. I know that it's, what I'm saying isn't a blanket statement. It is more directed at this practice, which obviously I'm not going to name. And for the record, they're not the same one that I took the seagull to. I thought they were, but they weren't. I got the wrong name. So the one I went to, I'm not going back to, because the one I took the seagull to, they were amazing. Honestly, they were really helpful. They were really happy to help. Obviously, there wasn't much we could do in the end, but yeah, at least they were really professional about it. So I know this was more of a rant than anything. I think with this circumstance, I just feel like I should say it. They're still animals at the end of the day. They shouldn't deserve to be neglected or almost refused treatment, or I don't know. I know the general public tends to hate them for a lot of reasons. I guess in my mind, when I was going to a place with supposedly a bunch of animal lovers, I didn't think it'd receive that kind of reception. I thought, end of the day, it's still an animal, it's still suffering, so they'll do their jobs and try to help, but I'm a bit salty about it. I am. Yeah, I guess that is the whole story. That is all I have for today. I did plan a different video, but I'm not going to be posting every single animal that I do help. That every single snail I pick up off the pavement and put in the grass. Obviously, I'm not going to be posting every time something like this happens. It's just the seagull was an unusual one. I thought that was quite interesting, but also sad. And as far as the rat comes, the same as pigeon, a lot of people hate them for no good reason whatsoever. A lot of people are misinformed, and I've been talking to a lot of people at work about that, because a lot of them are they carry disease, and they're really clean animals. I'll talk about it another time, but they definitely don't deserve the hatred they get. I will say that. I'm not necessarily saying we should live hand in hand with them. I understand the reason for them obviously not being welcome in a retail environment or a home environment, or people wanting to keep their distance to some of the outside world. I just think there's better ways of dealing with it than what we're currently doing. What can I say? There's nothing to say. I almost want to apologise for doing a dreary vid. I don't know, maybe a slightly more upsetting vid, but I'm not. The thing is, I want this channel to be all green and happy and everything's fine and lovely, but at the end of the day, half the reason I started this channel was to raise awareness and to help this, that, the other. And a lot of the things I have planned I've been holding off on for now, because I feel like right now I don't have the time to do them justice. I would be almost doing 50% into a really important project that I feel strongly about, which then wouldn't get the traction it deserves, and if I did it a second time round, it might just feel like a repeat. So I want to get it right first time. So for now, I'm waiting for a better time and better circumstances to do these things that I want to do. I have a goal to achieve, and we will get there someday, but for now, a bit of a glimpse, a bit of a story. I thought it'd be nice to share. I think the message I try to get across and I'm trying to carry is, it doesn't matter what the animal is. If it's suffering, help it. Just because you don't like it doesn't mean it doesn't deserve help, especially when we're the ones that inflicted it. For example, if I hated rats with a pure burning passion and I had a legitimate standpoint for that, or if there was an infestation, it doesn't mean they should suffer for 7 days. If they're going to be euthanized, if there's no other way about it, which there are, but if there are no other ways about it, it should be quick and instant and painless. It shouldn't be so drawn out and long. And to think this is a baby that was just a few months old is... I don't know how to end this video. But yeah, bit of a story time today. Was this insanely awkward? Because it feels like it might have been. Anyway, I don't know how to end this, so I'm going to say have a good evening. I'm going to go carry on with some other things, but thank you all for watching.